brought to you by WikiVD Documentaries. Reese Witherspoon.
Laura Jeanne Reese Witherspoon is an American actress, producer, and entrepreneur. Born in New Orleans and raised in Tennessee, she began her career as a child actress, making her professional screen debut in The Man in the Moon, for which she was nominated for a Young Artist Award. Following breakout roles in Desperate Choices, To Save My Child, and Jack the Bear, she starred in the comedy drama Pleasantville, for which she won the Young Hollywood Award for Breakthrough Performance.
Her leading role of Tracy Flick in Election was nominated for a Golden Globe Award. Witherspoon's breakthrough role was playing Elle Woods in the 2001 film Legally Blonde, for which she received her second Golden Globe nomination. The following year, she starred in the romantic comedy Sweet Home Alabama, which emerged as her biggest live-action commercial success. In 2005, she portrayed June Carter in Walk the Line, which earned her the Academy Award, Golden Globe Award, BAFTA Award, Screen Actors Guild Award, and Critics' Choice Award for Best Actress. Other notable films of hers include Legally Blonde 2, Red, White and Blonde, Monsters vs. Aliens, Water for Elephants, and Sing. In 2014, Witherspoon produced the thriller Gone Girl and received critical acclaim for portraying Cheryl Strayed in Wild, for which she earned her second Academy Award nomination for Best Actress and fourth Golden Globe nomination. In 2017, she produced and starred in the HBO drama series Big Little Lies. Witherspoon owns a production company, Pacific Standard, and she is actively involved in children's and women's advocacy organizations.
She serves on the board of the Children's Defense Fund, and was named Global Ambassador of Avon Products in 2007. Serving as honorary chair of the charitable Avon Foundation. She received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2010. Early life. Witherspoon was born on March 22, 1976 in Southern Baptist Hospital, New Orleans, Louisiana. While her father, John Draper Witherspoon, was a student at Tulane University Medical School. Her father was born in Georgia, and served as a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army Reserve.
He was in private practice as an otolaryngologist until 2012. Her mother, Mary Elizabeth Betty, is from Harriman, Tennessee, and earned a BS and master's degrees in nursing and a Doctor of Education. She worked as a professor of nursing at Vanderbilt University. In 1988, her mother began nursing babies back to health in the neonatal intensive care unit at Vanderbilt University Hospital until she retired.
Witherspoon has claimed descent from Scottish-born John Witherspoon, who signed the United States Declaration of Independence. However, this claim has not been verified by the Society of the Descendants of the Signers of the Declaration of Independence genealogists. Her parents are still legally married, although they separated in 1996, due to her father's alcoholism, infidelity, overspending, and hoarding. Because Witherspoon's father worked for the U.S. military in Wiesbaden, Germany, she lived there for 4 years as a child. After returning to the U.S., she spent her childhood in Nashville, Tennessee in the suburb of Belmead. She was raised as an Episcopalian. Her older brother, John Jr., is a real estate agent. She received high grades in school, loved reading, and considered herself a big dork who read loads of books. On mentioning her love for books, she said, "I get crazy in a bookstore. It makes my heart beat hard, because I want to buy everything." Witherspoon attended middle school at Harding Academy and graduated from the all-girls Harpeth Hall School in Nashville, during which time she was a cheerleader. She attended Stanford University as an English literature major. After completing 1 year of studies, she left Stanford to pursue an acting career. Witherspoon is proud of the definitive Southern upbringing which she received. She said that it gave her a sense of family and tradition and taught her about being conscientious about people's feelings, being polite, being responsible and never taking for granted what you have in your life. Witherspoon is described as a multi-achiever, and was given the nickname Little Type A by her parents. On discussing her early achievements, she told Interview magazine, "I just don't see any of it as that remarkable.
Maybe that's the attitude I choose to have to keep me sane and keep my feet on the ground. I grew up in an environment where women accomplished a lot. And if they weren't able to, it was because they were limited by society." She has said that a DNA test showed her to be of 63% Irish descent. At the age of 7, Witherspoon was selected as a model for a florist's television advertisements, which motivated her to take acting lessons. At age 11, she took first place in the 10-state talent fair. 1991–1998. In 1991, Witherspoon attended an open casting call for The Man in the Moon, intending to audition as a bit player. She was instead cast for the lead role of Danny Trant, a 14-year-old country girl who falls in love for the first time with her 17-year-old neighbor. Her performance was regarded as memorably touching by Variety magazine, and critic Roger Ebert commented, "Her first kiss is one of the most perfect little scenes I've ever seen in a movie." For this role, Witherspoon was nominated for the Young Artist Award Best Young Actress. Later that year, she made her television debut role in Wildflower with Patricia Arquette. In 1992, Witherspoon appeared in the TV movie Desperate Choices, To Save My Child, portraying a critically ill young girl. In 1993, she played a young wife in the CBS miniseries Return to Lonesome Dove. Nonnie Parker in the Disney film A Far Off Place, and had a minor role in Jack the Bear, which garnered her the Young Artist Award for Best Youth Actress Co-Star. The next year, Witherspoon had another leading role as Wendy Pfister in the 1994 film SFW, directed by Jeffrey Levy. In 1996, Witherspoon starred in 2 major films: the thriller Fear alongside Mark Wahlberg as Nicole Walker, a teenage girl who starts dating a man with obsessive tendencies, and the black comedy thriller Freeway, alongside Kiefer Sutherland and Brooke Shields, where she had the lead role. Her character, Vanessa Lutz, is a poor girl living in Los Angeles who encounters a serial killer on the way to her grandmother's home in Stockton. The film received positive reviews from the press. Among them was the San Francisco Chronicle, with Mick LaSalle commenting, "Witherspoon, who does a Texas accent, is dazzling. Utterly believable in one extreme situation after the other." Witherspoon's performance won her the Best Actress award at the Cognac Police Film Festival, and firmly established her as a rising star. The making of the film also gave Witherspoon significant acting experience, as she said, "Once I overcame the hurdle of that movie which scared me to death, I felt like I could try anything." In 1998, Witherspoon had major roles in 3 movies: Overnight Delivery, Pleasantville, and Twilight. In Pleasantville, she starred with Tobey Maguire in a tale about 1990s teenage siblings who are magically transported into the setting of a 1950s television series. She portrayed the sister, Jennifer, who is mainly concerned about appearances, relationships and popularity. Her performance received good reviews and garnered her the Young Hollywood Award for Best Female Breakthrough Performance.
Director Gary Ross said he firmly believed that Witherspoon would be an outstanding movie star. 1999–2000. In 1999, Witherspoon starred alongside Alessandro Nivola in the drama thriller Best Laid Plans.
She played Lissa, a woman who schemes with her lover Nick to escape a small dead-end town. Also that year co-starred with Sarah Michelle Gellar and Ryan Philippe in the drama film Cruel Intentions, a modern take on the 18th-century French novel Les Liaisons Dangereuses.
The San Francisco Chronicle praised her performance as Annette Hargrove. Witherspoon is especially good in the least flashy role, and even when called upon to make a series of cute devilish faces, she pulls it off. She also appeared in a music video by Marcy Playground for the film's soundtrack and starred with Matthew Broderick in Election, which is based on Tom Perrotta's novel.
For her portrayal of Tracy Flick, she received vast critical acclaim and won the Best Actress award from the National Society of Film Critics and the Online Film Critics Society, a first Golden Globe nomination and an Independent Spirit Award nomination. Witherspoon also received a rank on the list of 100 greatest film performances of all time by Premiere. Director Alexander Payne said of her, "She's got the quality that men find attractive, while women would like to be her friend.
But that's just the foundation. Nobody else is as funny or brings such charm to things. She can do anything." In spite of her success with Election, Witherspoon noted in an interview that she struggled to find work after completing the film, due to typecasting. Analyzing the reasons behind her difficulty to find work, Witherspoon commented, "I think because the character I played was so extreme and sort of shrewish, people thought that was who I was, rather than me going in and creating a part. I would audition for things, and I'd always be the second choice. Studios never wanted to hire me, and I wasn't losing the parts to big box office actresses, but to ones who I guess people felt differently about." In 2000, Witherspoon played a supporting role in American Psycho and made a cameo appearance in Little Nicky.
She also guest-starred in Season 6 of Friends as Rachel Green's sister Jill.
2001–2004. The 2001 film Legally Blonde marked a turning point in Witherspoon's career. She starred as Elle Woods, a fashion merchandising major who decides to become a law student in order to follow her ex-boyfriend to Harvard Law School.
Witherspoon said about the role, "When I read Legally Blonde, I was like, she's from Beverly Hills, shes rich, shes in a sorority. She has a great boyfriend. Oh yeah, she gets dumped. Who cares? I still hate her, so we had to make sure she was the kind of person you just can't hate."
Legally Blonde was a box office hit, grossing $96 million domestically. Witherspoon's performance earned her praise from critics, as the press began referring to her as the new Meg Ryan. Roger Ebert commented, "Witherspoon effortlessly animated this material with sunshine and quick wit," and Salon.com noted that she, Witherspoon, delineates Elle's character beautifully. Meanwhile, the Seattle Post-Intelligencer concluded, "Witherspoon is a talented comedian who can perk up a scene just by marching in full of pep and drive, and she powers this modest little comedy almost single-handedly." For her work, Witherspoon garnered her second Golden Globe Best Actress nomination and an MTV Movie Award for Best Comedic Performance. In 2002, after the success of Legally Blonde, Witherspoon starred in several roles, such as Greta Wolf-Castle in The Simpsons episode The Bart Wants What It Wants, and as Cecily in the comedy The Importance of Being Earnest. a film adaptation of Oscar Wilde's play in which she received a Teen Choice Award nomination.
Later that year, she starred with Josh Lucas and Patrick Dempsey in Andy Tennant's film Sweet Home Alabama, where she played Melanie Carmichael, a young fashion designer who intends to marry a New York politician, but must return to Alabama to divorce her childhood sweetheart, from whom she has been separated for 7 years. Witherspoon regarded this as a personal role, in that it reminded her of experiences she had when she moved from her hometown Nashville to Los Angeles. The movie became Witherspoon's biggest live-action box office hit, earning over $35 million in the opening weekend and grossing over $127 million in the U.S.
Despite the commercial success, critics gave Sweet Home Alabama negative reviews. It was called a romantic comedy, so wrote dull and predictable by the Miami Herald. And the press widely agreed that Witherspoon was the only reason the movie attracted such a large audience. When describing Witherspoon's role in the movie, the Christian Science Monitor concluded, "She is not the movie's main attraction, she is its only attraction." In 2003, Witherspoon followed up the success of Legally Blonde by starring in the sequel Legally Blonde 2, Red, White and Blonde.
Elle Woods has become a Harvard-educated lawyer who is determined to protect animals from cosmetics industry science tests. The sequel was not as financially successful as the first film, and it generated mostly negative reviews. USA Today considered the movie plodding, unfunny, and almost cringe-worthy, but also noted that Reese Witherspoon still does a fine job portraying the fair-haired lovable brainiac, but her top-notch comic timing is wasted on the humorless dialogue. Meanwhile, Salon.com concluded that the sequel calcifies everything that was enjoyable about the first movie. Despite being panned by critics, the sequel took in over $39 million in its first 5 days in the U.S. box office charts, and eventually grossed $90 million in the U.S. Witherspoon received a $15 million paycheck for the role, a starting point to make her consistently one of Hollywood's highest-paid actresses from 2002 until 2010. In 2004, Witherspoon starred in Vanity Fair, adapted from the 19th-century classic novel Vanity Fair and directed by Mira Nair. Her character, Becky Sharp, is a poor woman with a ruthless determination to find fortune and establish herself a position in society. Witherspoon was carefully costumed to conceal that during the filming she was pregnant with her second child. This pregnancy was not a hindrance to her work, as Witherspoon believed the gestation had in fact helped her portrayal of Sharp's character. "I love the luminosity that pregnancy brings. I love the fleshiness. I love the ample bosom. It gave me much more to play with," she said. The film and Witherspoon's portrayal of Sharp received mixed reviews, as The Hollywood Reporter wrote. Nair's cast is splendid. Witherspoon does justice to the juicy role by giving the part more buoyancy than naughtiness. At the same time, the Charlotte Observer called her work an excellent performance that's soft around the edges, and the Los Angeles Times concluded that Becky is a role Reese Witherspoon was born to play.
However, LA Weekly wrote, "Witherspoon ends up conveying so little of what's at once appalling and perversely attractive about the would-be mistress of Vanity Fair, and states that it may have to do with Witherspoon's vanity, with and Oscar-less young stars need to be loved more than anyone could conceivably love the real Becky Sharp." Others have stated she was miscast. 2005–2006. In late 2004, Witherspoon began working alongside Mark Ruffalo on the romantic comedy Just Like Heaven. Her character, Elizabeth Masterson, is an ambitious young doctor who gets into a car accident on her way to a blind date and is left in a coma. Her spirit returns to her old apartment where she later finds true love.
Earlier that year, Witherspoon was chosen to portray June Carter Cash, the second wife of country music singer-songwriter Johnny Cash, in Walk the Line. She never had the chance to meet Carter Cash, as Witherspoon was filming Vanity Fair. At the time Carter Cash died, Witherspoon performed her own vocals in the film, and her songs had to be performed in front of a live audience. She was so worried about needing to perform live that she asked her lawyer to terminate the film contract.
That was the most challenging part of the role, she later recalled in an interview. I'd never sung professionally. Subsequently, she had to spend 6 months learning how to sing for the role. Witherspoon's portrayal of Carter Cash was well received by critics, and Roger Ebert wrote that her performance added boundless energy to the movie.
She won several awards for her performance, including the Golden Globe Award, the Screen Actors Guild, the BAFTA, and the Academy Award for Best Actress in a Lead Role. Besides critical success in the movie industry, Witherspoon and Phoenix received a nomination for Collaborative Video of the Year from the CMT Music Awards. Witherspoon expressed her passion for the movie. I really like in this film that it is realistic and portrays sort of a real marriage, a real relationship where there are forbidden thoughts and fallibility. And it is about compassion in the long haul, not just the short, easy solutions to problems. She also stated that she believed Carter Cash was a woman ahead of her time. I think the really remarkable thing about her character is that she did all of these things that we sort of see as normal things in the 1950s, when it wasn't really acceptable for a woman to be married and divorced twice and have 2 different children by 2 different husbands, and travel around in a car full of very famous musicians all by herself. She didn't try to comply to social convention, so I think that makes her a very modern woman.
Witherspoon's first post-Oscar role came in the modern-day fairy tale Penelope, as Annie, the best friend of Penelope, a girl who has a curse in her family. The film was produced by her company Type A Films, with filming commencing in March 2006, immediately following Witherspoon's Oscar win for Walk the Line. Although the movie premiered at the 2006 Toronto International Film Festival, the final release date of Penelope was delayed twice before an eventual February 2008 release. 2007-2012. Following her critical success with Walk the Line, Witherspoon admits to spending several years kind of floundering career-wise. Reflecting on this period of time in a December 2014 interview, Witherspoon attributed it to her separation from her first husband in October 2006 and their subsequent divorce, stating that she spent a few years just trying to feel better. You know, you can't really be very creative when you feel like your brain is scrambled eggs. She claims that she wasn't making things I was passionate about. I was just kind of working, you know, and it was really clear that audiences weren't responding to anything I was putting out there. This period of Witherspoon's career began with the filming of the abduction thriller rendition in November 2006. In the film, she plays Isabella El Ibrahim, the pregnant wife of a bombing suspect. The film was released in October 2007 and marked Witherspoon's first appearance in theaters since the 2005 release of Walk the Line. The movie received mostly negative reviews and was generally considered a disappointment at the Toronto International Film Festival. Witherspoon's performance was also criticized. Reese Witherspoon is surprisingly lifeless. USA Today wrote, "She customarily injects energy and spirit into her parts, but here, her performance feels tamped down." In December 2007, Witherspoon began working with Vince Vaughn, filming the holiday comedy Four Christmases, a story about a couple who must spend their Christmas day trying to visit all four of their divorced parents. The film was released in November 2008.
Despite receiving mostly negative reviews by critics, the movie became a box office success, earning more than $120 million domestically and $157 million worldwide. In 2009, Witherspoon voiced Susan Murphy, lead character in DreamWorks' computer-animated film Monsters vs. Aliens, released in March 2009, becoming her biggest hit at the time.
She also co-produced the Legally Blonde spin-off Legally Blondes, starring Millie and Becky Rosso. However, Witherspoon did not appear in a live-action film for 2 years after the 2008 release of Four Christmases. She told Entertainment Weekly that the break was unplanned, stating that, "I just didn't read anything I liked.
There are a lot of really big movies about robots and things, and there's not a part for a 34-year-old woman in a robot movie." Witherspoon returned with 3 films released in 2010, 2011 and 2012, all centered on her as a woman caught in a love triangle between 2 men. In a 2012 interview with MTV, Witherspoon jokingly referred to this trio of films as her love triangle period. The first film was James L. Brooks' romantic comedy How Do You Know?, which starred Witherspoon as a former national softball player who struggles to choose between a baseball star boyfriend and a business executive being investigated for white-collar crime. The movie was filmed in Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. during the summer and fall of 2009 and released on December 17, 2010. The movie was both a critical and box office failure. Despite a budget of more than $100 million, the film earned only $7.6 million in its opening weekend, leading the Los Angeles Times to call it one of the year's biggest flops. The movie earned mainly negative reviews from critics, scoring 35% on Rotten Tomatoes with 111 reviews as of late December 2010. Witherspoon's second love triangle movie was the film adaptation of the 1930s circus drama Water for Elephants. She began circus training in March 2010 for her role as Marlena, a glamorous performer stuck in a marriage to a volatile husband, but intrigued by the circus' new veterinarian. The movie was filmed between late May and early August 2010 in various locations in Tennessee, Georgia, and California. It was released on April 22, 2011 and received mixed critical reviews. In September 2010, Witherspoon began principal photography in Vancouver for the third and final love triangle film, This Means War, a 20th-century Fox spy comedy directed by MCG in which Witherspoon's character is at the center of a battle between best friends who are both in love with her. The film had a sneak peek release on Valentine's Day, before fully opening on February 17, 2012. The film was panned by critics, and fared poorly at the box office, taking 5th place on its opening weekend with sales of $17.6 million. The New York Times remarked that this extended the box office cold streak for the Oscar-winning Ms. Witherspoon. 2013 present. Witherspoon's subsequent films signaled a departure from the love triangle theme. In September 2011, a year after beginning work on This Means War, she filmed a small role in Jeff Nichols' coming-of-age drama Mud in Arkansas, playing Juniper.
the former girlfriend of a fugitive, who enlists two local boys to help him evade capture and rekindle his romance with her. Mud premiered in May 2012 in competition for the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival, but did not win. Following its American debut at the Sundance Film Festival on January 19, 2013, the film had a limited release in select North American theaters on April 26, 2013.
Witherspoon next starred in Devil's Knot, which is based on Amigoyen's true crime book of the same name, and examines the controversial case of the West Memphis Three. Like Mud, the film is set in Arkansas. Witherspoon played Pam Hobbs, the mother of one of three young murder victims. In an interview subsequent to her casting in the film, Irigoyen noted that although the role requires an emotionally loaded journey, he met with Reese and talked at length about the project, and SHES eager to take on the challenge. The movie was shot in Georgia in June and July 2012.
Witherspoon was pregnant with her third child during filming. The film's world premiere was held on September 8, 2013 at the Toronto International Film Festival. It was then released in selected American theaters on May 9, 2014. In April 2013, Witherspoon began production in Atlanta on Canadian director Philippe Falardeau's film The Good Lie. It is based on real-life events, about a brash American woman assigned to help four young Sudanese refugees who win a lottery for relocation to the U.S. It was released on October 3, 2014. Witherspoon shot a small role in Inherent Vice, an adaptation of Thomas Pynchon's novel, in Pasadena, California in summer 2013. Through her company Pacific Standard, Witherspoon served as a producer in the film adaptation of Gillian Flynn's novel Gone Girl, though she did not star. Indeed, Witherspoon and her producing partner had little to do with the production of Gone Girl, leaving it to director David Fincher while focusing their efforts on another adaptation produced via Pacific Standard, that of Cheryl Strayed's memoir Wild, which began production in fall 2013 on the same day as Gone Girl. Witherspoon starred in the project, portraying Strayed herself on her hike along the Pacific Crest Trail. Wild was released in December 2014 to critical acclaim. Michael Phillips of Chicago Tribune wrote in his review, "Witherspoon does the least acting of her career, and it works. Calmly yet restlessly, she brings to life Strayed's longings, her states of grief and desire, and her wary optimism." Wild was promoted as Witherspoon's primary comeback vehicle following her previous career slump, and she earned her second Academy Award nomination for the role. In May 2014, Witherspoon began production in Louisiana on Hot Pursuit, a comedy in which she plays a police officer trying to protect a drug lord's widow. The movie was released on May 8, 2015. In 2016, she had a voice role in the animated film Sing, as well as serving as a major performer on the film's soundtrack. The movie became Witherspoon's biggest hit, being the first to make over $200 million domestically and $500 million worldwide. In January 2016, Witherspoon began filming her first television project since Return to Lonesome Dove, the 7-part miniseries adaptation of the Liane Moriarty bestseller, Big Little Lies. She produced the miniseries, along with her co-star, Nicole Kidman, and the show's director, Jean-Marc Vallée, her second project under his direction. The series premiered on February 19, 2017 on HBO and is set to finish on April 2. Witherspoon has garnered critical acclaim for her performance, with TV Line proclaiming her as Performer of the Week of February 26 to March 4. The Washington Post compared her performance to her previous work in Election and Legally Blonde. On November 2016, Witherspoon began production on the romantic comedy Home Again, the directorial debut of Nancy Meyers' daughter, Haley Myers Schuyler.
A few months later, she began filming the Disney's A Wrinkle in Time, the film adaptation of Madeleine L'Engle's classic novel of the same name, where she plays Mrs. Whatsit. She co-stars alongside Oprah Winfrey and Mindy Kaling and is directed by Ava DuVernay. Thank you for watching. Brought to you by WikiVD Documentaries. Please like and subscribe below. Please like and subscribe below.